Hello, it's Kathleen from Kathleen at Home. How are you doing today? I've been out here on my front porch probably going on 2 hours, and I thought, hey, maybe this would be a great time to do a video about dahlias. So one of the things I've been doing, well, the big thing I've been doing is unpacking my boxes of dahlias, sorting through them to see which tubers have eyes and which tubers don't. Now, in my book, just because a tuber doesn't have eyes today does not mean I'm going to throw it away. I have a tendency to always lean toward hopeful life, and so I've created this stack of boxes over here. These are tubers that have eyes. They're ready to be planted. Don't let the size of the box kid you. They're not filled to the brim. I'm actually being kind of smart and marking down how many holes I think they're going to make so that I can do a little bit better planning on how I'm going to do some layout. I tend to be more of a stuff the flower beds kind of person, so I'm gonna, not that I'm gonna try and be any more organized really than that, but I'm trying to think, you know, that I get a nice mix of my flowers in and don't have a bunch trying to figure out where in the world I'm going to put them. So in this box here, this box that's sitting here, this is my hopefuls. So I have, these are my peachy pinks and they're hopeful. This box is actually pretty full of hopefuls. And what the hopefuls are is they currently don't have any eyes on them, but they still look very healthy to me. I'm learning more about how to divide dahlias and how to, determine which are ones that are going to produce more flowers. I have a lot of flower beds. I have a lot of tubers. So I tend to be like, oh, I'll just plop all of these in this hole and, I get stuff out of them, but that could be because, I just plant so many tubers in a hole, and so therefore just based on that, I get a nice little, sprouting and whatnot. But these, this one happens to be Hopeful Orange. Hopeful Orange is a great looking tuber, but it doesn't have all the pieces parts that they recommend you look for. Tuber, a healthy neck, and then an eye that doesn't have that. This guy, is pretty dried out, but when I squeeze the tuber, there still feels like there's a little bit of life in there. So I'm still hopeful that maybe it will form something. Again, I will probably plop these in a hole very generously. I'm thinking about at the end of my vegetable garden, asking Brad to set up a couple of beds where I'm just calling it my hopeful beds, and we'll see what we get. And if I don't get anything, at all, that'll be okay. But if I get some, that'll be exciting. So this box is getting pretty full of my hopefuls. But what I thought I'd do next, I'm sitting right here on the floor, right next to my nice outdoor table. I had been doing some cuttings up there, but then those came from a box that I'd already dumped out, taken the oak leaves out, but now I'm to dumping bigger boxes. So I'm back to working on the floor here. It's the same way I wrap Christmas presents. I put everything on the floor, even though I have a dining room table sitting right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump out this box. Now this is very technically named Unknown End of the Garden Bed. So last summer, I planted what I thought were some of my really nice tubers in my garden, and I got plants but got no blooms, and I couldn't figure out what in the world was wrong. And then I kind of let it, think about it. Brad had dumped a bunch of chicken manure at that end of the garden, and I just kind of think maybe the nitrogen content was nice and high for plant growth, but didn't create enough balance for flower growth. So I'm hopeful that this year I will know what color these are, and that I will actually get some flowers. So what I do, I dump the whole box out here on the ground, and I'm going to start digging through. Now right off the get-go, woo, yay! I see this. That's beyond hopeful. That's ready to roll. Get me in the ground already, Kathleen. But there's some. So I'm just going through and pulling out the tubers, separating them from all this leaf litter, or leaf mulch. What I do is I pack my dahlias in oak leaves. I don't do the vermiculite and all that good stuff that so many people do. That's obviously a great method, but I have a huge oak tree over here that gives me free packing material, so that's what I go with. So there's another one. So here's a couple guys that they are a little crinkly, but when I squeeze them, oh, they still feel like, you know, they've got lots of energy stored in there. So I'm going to set those aside. They'll end up going in a hopeful box. So again, I just work through my leaves, and I'm very, very cautious because, you know, there could be a little guy in there, then I don't want to lose him and just, you know, throw him out with the leaves. So I take my time, find every little one I can find. I'm going to tip this down so you can watch what I'm up to here. So I'm going through, obviously that big guy, he's not going to get missed. I'll set him aside. If there's a tuber, I'm going to just pull him out and we'll evaluate after we get through here. There's some more. So my husband brought me home a bunch of boxes last year. They're nice boxes. I store my tubers in our garage. Now our garage it's an attached garage, and it actually is also semi-heated because we have our wood burner out there. So typically I do check them and make sure all's well, and if they look like they're drying out, I, you know, maybe pour a little bit of water in. If they look like see, that little guy could have gotten missed. And I'm sure I do miss some of those. But if they're looking too wet, you know, I try and, you know, open the box and let them air a little bit. Now look at that guy. Now that guy doesn't look all like, oh my gosh, the perfect tuber. He's a little dried out, not real big, but 1, 2, 3, 4 eyes on that fella. He really wants to put out some blooms. And then you got this big guy, and, you know, doesn't, again, qualify for all the things we're supposed to be looking for, but I won't throw him out. All right. So what was I saying? But this past winter, my life just seemed extra busy. Here, I'll tell you this. We're pretty much empty nesters. Our youngest went off to college, and, you know, you'd think I'd have more and more time. I have not found that to be true yet. So this is what I'm saying. I did not go out and check these at all. So I was a little bit like holding my breath when Brad started pulling the boxes down off the shelf. Oh, we're doing pretty good. I've got a whole big box of my leaves here that once I'm certain I've gotten the tubers out, I stuck them in this box. So when he pulled them down, I was a little worried that I maybe lost a bunch, but so far I'm feeling pretty good about, look at that, here's a nice one, pretty good about what I'm seeing. I have a huge amount of what I call peachy pink. Again, I am not a technical gardener. I don't know all the names of my beautiful flowers. At one time I had thought about trying to take the Master Gardener training, but again, that's something I haven't gotten around to. I'm not sure I'm ever going to. But I do love my flowers. But I started to say I have a huge number of the peachy pinks, and that tends to be what I will, you know, donate. There's a local garden club that's having a garden, you know, or flower sale. I'll donate that to them. If people ask me for tubers, or, you know, whether I'm just giving them away or selling them for a whole $1 a tuber, it's the peachy pinks. I don't have an overabundance of my other colors. Now look here. I'm going to finish that sentence. Don't I do that a lot to you? Look at this. Now this is not following the rules. That is not a good tuber. I can see you. That is sliced off. I don't really see a neck, but he's got, I guess, a little stumpy neck in there. But look at, oh geez, I'm talking to myself, I guess. But look at all the eyes. So my thought is, don't just reject a tuber just because it's not following the rules at the moment. You know, I could have thrown this away, I guess, in the fall and not thought anything of it, but I know why I would have kept this, because it was out in that unknown flower bed. And I know in that unknown flower bed I had planted some pom-poms, and I think they were pink pom-poms, and I was like desperate for anything that I could get out of when I was digging them up, so that I could at least maybe see some of those again. I am tickled with the number of eyes I'm seeing on these. I'll be even happier if I actually get some flower blooms this year. So again, we're just going through all this. Now there's one that, yeah, that's just all dried out. And you'll have that. I don't know what a typical percentage is of, you know, of loss. Like if you lose 10%, you're good. If you lose, you know, half of them, you're still in the okay zone. I don't know. I don't ever count my tubers every year. I say I'm going to count how many I dug up or how many I planted. And, you know, I get to a couple hundred and I totally stop counting. Look at that right there. That guy tried to get lost in the leaves. Glad I spotted him. So again, taking my time here. All right, friends. I'm not going to do a video on dividing tubers. I'm learning how to do that, but I tend to be more of a put the whole clump in and be excited about it, rather than separate them. This one I probably will separate. I think it might be a case of some intertwine, where I don't really have to do a lot of cutting. I just have to figure out how they're intertwined. But I always, there we go. Sometimes I worry that I'm going to do more damage than good by dividing them, but a friend of mine and I are doing a workshop, so I am going to demonstrate that at the workshop. But again, I just got, I think, 3 little things out of that one. That's kind of cool. All right, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you've had a chance to enjoy being either outside in your garden, or maybe you're on your front porch sorting out tubers. But gosh, aren't we lucky to have an opportunity to play in the dirt and, you know, enjoy this period of regrowth, and then we'll get to enjoy those harvests of the beautiful dahlia flowers. Till I see you again, I think I'm going to sign off. Have a wonderful day. Many blessings.